Montana De La Rosa versus Thaila Santos. We got minus 210 on Thaila Santos, and we got plus 175 for the short notice Montana De La Rosa. So I say short notice because Thaila Santos was scheduled to fight Marina Moroz. Moroz pulls out, not 100% sure exactly why, but in steps Montana De La Rosa quickly, relatively quickly after her loss to Viviane Araujo back in September. So she's taken exactly 3 months off, and now she's right back into this, taking the fight on roughly about a week and a half notice. I'm not sure how much that's going to play into this. According to her IG, it seemed like she was, putting in the work. She was getting, she was doing what she needed to do to stay in shape. Obviously, that makes sense as to, her taking this fight. It is at flyweight, which is what it was. The Santos fight was scheduled for. Before obviously this whole change here, but let's get into the actual to the fight here. So with Thaila Santos, we saw her come out flat against Mara Romero Barella, where she lost a split decision, where she pretty much got one taken down and then two kind of just controlled up against the cage. She did have a strong third round, but it was just too little, too late, and Barella did end up getting the decision victory there. Then afterwards, we did see, I think, the actual Thaila Santos against Molly McCann, and I was kind of surprised that a lot of people were duped into betting Molly in that spot. I believe I did end up betting on Thaila Santos. I did get her around that plus 150ish range. Very, very happy to hit that spot. I was very, very surprised at the amount of love that Molly was getting. A lot of recency bias baked into a lot of these lines, in my opinion, and it's affecting a lot of people too. Like, you can't just look at their last performance. You got to, dial it back a little bit further. You got to take X factors into consideration. I think that there was a lot going into Thaila Santos against Barella. Now here against Molly McCann, she did a very good job of, staying on the feet. Battering Molly McCann from the outside, and even taking the fight to the ground if she needed to, and clinching up and showing that she's the much stronger fighter than Molly McCann. So great performance from Thaila Santos last time around. I think a lot of people going into that Barella fight were expecting her to go out there and have a similar performance as she did in the Contender Series when she beat Estefany Almeida in a fight where she had her hurt on multiple occasions, but just wasn't able to put her away. Now with this De La Rosa fight, it's interesting because you guys know me. I've bet on De La Rosa a couple times in the past, and she's won for me, she's lost for me, and I keep saying, okay, this is the last time I'm going to bet on her, considering that she didn't have that great of a performance against Viviane Araujo. But the difference here between Araujo and Santos is I believe that Araujo is just a little bit more physical and has a little bit more fast twitch muscle, and obviously physically looks in much, much better shape than Thaila Santos. Not taking anything away from Santos, but Araujo is just sculpted out of granite, it looks like. But any time that there was an instance where De La Rosa kind of pinned her up against the cage or even tried going for any type of takedown, we did not see Araujo, stand still for 1 second, not even a millisecond. She was, shrimping every single time. She was, moving from side to side, trying to get out of these positions, getting rid of the body locks. She was very, very strong in those positions, and that's what allowed her to really keep the fight at distance and really get her shots off and really make De La Rosa kind of hurt from the outside. We saw De La Rosa kind of accept the fact that she wasn't able to get this fight to the ground, and we saw her kind of bite down on her mouthpiece a little bit more and start to throw more punches, which will lead a lot of people to believe that she's believing in her striking a little bit more. I've heard that take from a couple of different people at this point, but I don't really believe that. I think it's more so it's De La Rosa accepting the fact that she wasn't getting that fight to the ground. Araujo, very, very strong, a ton of fast twitch muscle. The lack of settling up against the cage really allowed her to get out of those bad positions. And she had the gas tank to do it. Now, what Thaila Santos, I'm seeing kind of the opposite. Like, she's willing to engage in these clinch battles, and she's willing to engage in, these grappling exchanges. And I think that's where it might go wrong for her. We did see Barella obviously have some success, and I think De La Rosa is definitely the best grappler she's had to deal with up until this point. I don't think Molly McCann really has much on De La Rosa when it comes to the grappling. Molly had a little bit of a successful run, upsetting a couple fighters, and everybody thinking that she's like a D1 wrestler at this point in time, and thinking that she was going to get Thaila Santos down time and time again. Like, she just kept going for a single leg and not really the most power or conviction behind it either, which really ended up kind of falling back on her, whereas Thaila Santos was able to reverse those positions, eventually get her down and do some good damage from on top. I think we'll see De La Rosa successful in those situations. I think if she's able to successfully push Santos up against the cage, she will get those takedowns and she will be able to kind of push Thaila up against the cage and really wear on her there. Montella De Rosa 5'7", 68-inch reach, Thaila Santos 5'6", 66-inch reach, or sorry, 68-inch reach. We did see Molly McCann deal with the height advantage and the size advantage of Thaila Santos, which is definitely in her favor. I don't think that's going to be the thing here. De La Rosa has a wrestling background from wrestling in or high school and college, I believe, up until the point that she ended up having a kid. But um, yeah, I think she's going to be the toughest grappler that Santos has faced. And if we saw Mara go out there and have some success, albeit I believe there were some conditions going into that fight for Thaila, which is why she didn't really perform to the best of her ability. But I don't think that Santos has the type of striking that Araujo has. Like, don't get me wrong, Thail's striking is great. I think it's good. I think it's definitely passable in this division. But I don't think it's to the point where it's going to kind of demoralize De La Rosa from pushing this fight up against the cage, getting her hands on Thaila, and possibly dragging this fight to the ground. I think it's the willingness of Thaila to engage in those clinch situations and not really, you know, um, just try to shrimp her way out of those positions like she did against Molly McCann or even Barella. I think that's where it's going to kind of get a little bit harder for De La Rosa. Now, we did see something come out from James Lynch earlier today, saying that we didn't see De La Rosa get to go over to Team Elevation like she did before her last camp and get in some time there. But you got to take into consideration that this is somewhat short notice. So how would she have known to go out there? Like, it costs money to do that. I believe she lives in New Mexico with obviously Mark De La Rosa, her husband and her kid, but it costs money to go out to Denver and rent a place and pay for the training and all that type of stuff. So I think that's a little bit of a concern. And obviously the short notice. Like, what really is she going to get out of going to Team Elevation for like 3 or 4 days and then having to fly to Vegas from there and quarantining and doing all that type of shit? So yeah, she is taking some things from I'm trying to remember Elliot Marshall. She's taking notes and lessons from him through Zoom, and I don't think that's something that people should look too hard into. Again, it's a short notice fight, but I think the talents and the skills that De La Rosa brings into this fight against Santos definitely makes her a live underdog at that plus 175 range. You can get her at plus 180 at a couple spots too. So I do like her at that price. I don't mind that at all. I think this is a solid spot for her. Like, going into this, I thought I was going to be backing Santos, but once you really start to break down the tape and see those situations that De La Rosa could possibly get Santos into, and seeing how Santos reacts in those situations, I lead De La Rosa. Now we might see Santos come out here and show what Viviane Araujo did, which is, anytime the clinch or anything was initiated, she just absolutely gets the hell out of Dodge. You know what I mean? She does everything in her power to just get out of those situations and then land a couple good strikes on De La Rosa to continue to demoralize her. But I just don't see it. Like, I feel like if we were going to see it, we would have seen it in the Molly McCann fight, but she trusted in herself and she was successful in reversing positions and getting Molly down. But I think she's going to have a harder time doing that against, in my opinion, the best grappler that she's faced to date in Montana De La Rosa. So I'm going with De La Rosa. I think she has a solid shot at getting this fight down repeatedly, having some good success from on top, and taking home a decision victory. So I'll go with Montana to win this fight by decision. I think she's a very, very live underdog here at plus 175, plus 180, possibly even a better line if closer to fight week. I'm not 100% sure yet. We're recording this on the Thursday of the fight week prior to the current fight week. So yeah, I'll go with Montana to win this fight via decision.